Welcome back to Learn with Chris. I'm Chris. Today I'm going to talk about my third politics-related video, and this one's going to be on conspiracy theories. So this is going to be partially scripted, but also partially ad-libbed. So I made a script for this. I'm going to read through it, but I'm also going to stop myself and talk about the script after each paragraph. So let's begin. This is probably going to be a long video. So at the 2024 Republican National Convention, Hulk Hogan said something that struck in my mind and memory. He was giving a 9-minute speech about Donald Trump, and just before he ripped off his shirt, exposing a Trump Vance shirt underneath, he said, "But what happened last week when they took a shot at my hero and they tried to kill the next president of the United States? Enough was enough." Who are they? After all, the shooter was identified and named pretty quickly after the shooting. The shooter was a 20-year-old man. Why didn't Hulk Hogan say when he took a shot at my hero? Instead, the verbiage is they, and the days after the shooting, a lot of videos were put up on social media and they were saying they did this, they did that, they tried to kill Trump. But who are they? So it's always they. So they. It's the pronoun. It's the pronoun used for everything related to conspiracy theories, like the deep state or whatever secret organizations are, controlling things, pulling the strings and being the puppet masters. They, always used. We don't know who they are, but we have ideas, and we have conspiracy theories. Okay. By the way, Hulk Hogan, I'm not a big wrestling fan, but I did grow up watching wrestling as a kid. And of course, I remember him back in the 80s when I was very young. And it was a pretty, how do I say, like a very entertaining Republican National Convention. And it was very effective. I mean, he's a showman, he knows what he's doing. And that was a very effective speech that he gave, the one that I'm referring to. Okay, so the next paragraph. So obviously we are now in the realm of conspiracy theories. Let's try to define what a conspiracy theory is. According to Wikipedia, a conspiracy theory is an explanation for an event that asserts the existence of a conspiracy by powerful and sinister groups when other explanations are more probable. Oxford Dictionary says that a conspiracy theory is the belief that a secret but powerful organization is responsible for an event. I asked the AI LLM Claude, and it gave the same definition as Wikipedia, like word for word, same definition. And while ChatGPT said a conspiracy theory is a belief or explanation that suggests events or situations are the result of a secret, often sinister plot by a group of people or organization. So conspiracies are secret plans or plots by multiple people, generally for illegal or unethical reasons. And a conspiracy theory is attributing a conspiracy as to the reason why a particular event happened, instead of believing the official story given by the media or by the government. So basically, conspiracy theories are alternative explanations for events that happen. And the belief is that the government's lying, the media is lying, the official story is not true. They're hiding the reality of what happened for some sinister reasons. And the conspiracy theories are, well, no, I don't believe this. I think that this or this or this is a more plausible reason for what happened, because we generally don't believe what what the government tells us, or the facts don't add up. They don't add up. Okay, so the next paragraph that I wrote. At this point, it's important to say a few things. First off, conspiracies are real and they happen all the time. Of course, people secretly working together to achieve their own goals is commonplace. Two children working together to steal cookies from the cookie jar and blame it on the dog, that's a conspiracy. Secondly, sometimes an explanation for an event today, which is considered some crazy conspiracy theory, may be revealed to be truth in the future. For example, the Watergate scandal, MK Ultra, the Tuskegee syphilis study, hard to say that word, and Epstein's Island were all considered to be crazy conspiracy theories at one point until they were proven true later. However, this does not mean that all conspiracy theories will be proven true in the future, of course. Some crazy conspiracy theories remain just that, crazy. So I give some examples here of conspiracy theories, where my point is that just because it's a conspiracy theory, it doesn't mean that it's not real. It also doesn't mean that it's false as well. I mean, it can go either way, right? Time will tell, or evidence will show truth or not truth, or not always, because of course in some cases we will never know. We will never know the truth. So the examples I gave would be the Watergate, of course. The idea there was, when was Watergate? 68 or something? No, 67, 68. It was in the 1960s. Richard Nixon. So basically, he or his team or his cabinet, they broke into the DNC headquarters and they bugged some rooms or something. Basically, they were trying to get some information about what they were planning, what the Democrats were planning, and that was really, really illegal to do that. And of course, at the early parts of it, it was no. Obviously, a president would not do something so illegal as to bug his opponents. But it was true, and Nixon ended up resigning over it. I mentioned MK Ultra. That was in the 50s or 60s, I think, where they were basically the army, I think American military was experimenting with mind control techniques by giving people different types of drugs and different types of things that they were doing, right? Because they were trying to develop mind control techniques for like maybe the perfect soldier or whatever. Again, it all sounds crazy, but it's actually true. The Tuskegee syphilis was from like the 30s until the 70s, like 40 years. And they were giving syphilis. They were injecting people with syphilis. And of course, they weren't telling them that. They were telling them that they were just giving them medicine. So the government was doing experiments on people without their knowledge. And of course, Epstein's Island. That was also proven true. I don't remember when, but Alex Jones was talking about Epstein Island years or even decades before it became clearly true. So some conspiracy theories end up being true later. So to continue. So when some events happen, like the JFK assassination in 1963 or the moon landing in 1969, and the official story is Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone, or the moon landing actually happened, but you disagree with the official narrative and come up with an alternative story, then you are engaging in conspiracy theories. And you are asserting that some group is lying to the public about these events. I believe that there's something psychological going on here. Humans have a pretty strong desire to understand the world around them. I just think that's how we're made. When there's gaps in our knowledge or inconsistencies in the official story for some event, we naturally want to fill the gaps ourselves. A clear example of this is our pre-scientific explanations for the natural world before we had better explanations given by science, right? So for example, a volcano erupting or an earthquake wreaking destruction was understood to be the anger of the gods. Perhaps the people were not sacrificing enough to the gods, so the gods sent natural disasters to punish them. Remember the flood story from the Bible? So I think that we want to know, right? It's probably from our evolutionary history, but we want to know what's going on. We always try to fill in the pieces or fill in the gaps. If anything doesn't make sense, we want it to make sense. And if we have to make up information, we will, right? So there's this natural desire in people to know the true story, right? I'll give you an example from my own past. This was back when I was a teenager. Me and my brother, we were walking home one night. It was like midnight or something, and there's these road sweepers, these special kind of cars that sweep and clean the roads, and they have steering wheels on both sides, both on the left and on the right. And so what happened was we were walking, and we see this car driving very slowly, and no one was driving the car, right? So we look at where the driver should be in the steering wheel, and there was nobody there. So on seeing something that we didn't understand, me and my brother just kind of automatically came to the conclusion that we were looking at a ghost, right? Not that I believed in ghosts or I have ever believed in ghosts, but I saw something I didn't understand. This car was driving itself. Now, I didn't know about the two steering wheels at the time. So we just kind of freaked out, oh my God, it's a ghost, and, ran home. But when we told our stepfather, who knew about these things, was like, no, there's a guy on the other side. He was probably leaning out to look at the road where he was cleaning. We just didn't see him, right? So our brains came up with some explanation because we were seeing something that didn't make any sense, right? So I think this is related to conspiracy theories, right? So when the official story doesn't make sense, or the official story has gaps in it, we will automatically try to put it together so that it does make sense, right? So I think conspiracy theories are entirely normal and entirely natural. And they might not end up actually being true. So the things we come up with might actually match reality, and other times they won't, right? So this kind of gets to the problem of transparency with the government and with the media. If they stop lying and they tell us the truth, we won't need to come up with our own stories to explain these things, right? But that's a part of the problem, of course. So the next paragraph. It's the inconsistencies that's the problem. Our innate bullshit detectors go off when all the facts don't add up. And of course, given the fact that governments have lied to its people in the past, the Gulf of Tonkin incident that started the Vietnam War, weapons of mass destruction in Iraq immediately come to mind, and don't get me started on COVID. It is entirely reasonable to believe that governments are currently lying about A, B, and C, and will continue to lie in the future. Trust for institutions is probably at an all-time low. From a poll released today, only 7% of Americans say that they have a great deal of trust in the media, while 38% have no trust at all, so 0. I guess that's what happens when the media has been constantly lying about everything for decades. So, governments lie all the time and have been forever. So we just don't believe them anymore, right? We don't believe the story. Whatever official stories are given for these events, we just don't believe them. Or at least a lot of people don't believe them. because they have lied before, they are lying now, and they will lie in the future. I'll give an example. I always like to give examples. So there is, I was going to say there was, I don't watch them anymore, but I think they still exist. Left-wing, I guess, news YouTube site called The Young Turks. Now, way back, maybe 15 years or more, I used to watch them. And I got my news from them, and I believed them back then. But what happened was a couple of interesting things. One day they had a story about heavy metal. Now, I know a lot about heavy metal. I've been listening to heavy metal for like 45 years. Not an expert, but I know quite a lot about it. It's my favorite genre of music. And I'm a huge fan of heavy metal. And in whatever video they were talking about heavy metal, they got everything wrong. It's all wrong. Every fact, every piece of information, it was wrong. It was like, so I was like, okay, they got that wrong. And okay, people make mistakes. I was like, okay, fine. And then a while later, they had gaming. Another video, but this one was about gaming. I'm a gamer, been a gamer my entire life. Again, another area, another topic that I know a lot about. And again, wrong, lie, wrong. That's twice. So the topics I actually know about, they were wrong or they were lying. And then there was a third one, and that one was related with, what's his name? Philosopher, neuroscientist, can't remember his name. I'll put his name up on the screen, but it's at the top of my mind. They lied about him too. And it was at that point where I know about that guy, I know about gaming, I know about heavy metal, that these guys just lie about it. So if they're lying to me about the things I do know about, then they're probably lying to me about all of the other things that I don't know about. Therefore, they just lie about everything. So I just, okay, I can't watch these guys anymore. And I haven't watched a single video from the Young Turks for way more than 10 years. They're just liars. And so that's it, right? So when people lie to you enough, you don't believe them, of course, and you're not going to pay attention to them anymore, right? Okay, continuing. I want to look at a couple of examples of conspiracy theories, one ongoing and one proven false, but still very current. I'll talk about the false one first, and it's related to Joe Biden dropping out of the presidential race, and the conspiracy theory that was going around that he was actually dead. So why did people think that? Well, the inconsistencies or strange things going on, of course. Firstly, Biden dropped out of the race by a tweet on Twitter. That an unprecedented event, so that is dropping out of a presidential race after the primary season, never happened before, and he makes a tweet to announce it. It's just weird. And then people were saying that his signature on the PDF didn't match up with his signature. That's the second weird thing. And then the fact that Biden disappeared from the public eye for like 5 days or something. And it's seeming like also the last thing was that Kamala Harris was at a rally and Biden called in. And it seemed like it was AI Biden. It seemed like an AI recording, not Biden actually talking. And Harris herself actually almost slipped up by saying the word recording, but she stopped herself and said called. Again, all of these little things, they add up, right? So an absentee 80-year-old president who is barely alive disappears and makes a tweet about dropping out of a race on a Sunday afternoon. It smelled fishy to people. However, Biden reappeared some days later and just yesterday made an Oval Office announcement. So he's not dead, and the conspiracy theory has been proven false. Right? He's not dead, he's alive. Now, one thing, it was either yesterday or 2 days ago, I saw like a 10-minute video on Twitter from Brett Weinstein, and I really like him and his brother. Two of the smartest people in the world, in my opinion. So Brett, he was looking at this, and he has this hypothesis, he calls it hypothesis theory, that it's this whole Biden dead thing. He called it a psyop. It's a very interesting idea. So there's going to be all these conspiracy theories about Trump, which is what I'm going to talk about next. And then there's a new set of conspiracy theories about Biden being dead. But his idea that it's a psyop, these ones they're created, right? So they did the tweet on purpose. Biden disappearing was on purpose. So the idea was to create a situation that would make people come up with conspiracy theories, right? And then a couple of days later, Biden shows up. He says, "Oh, I'm fine, blah, blah, blah." And so it's like to discredit, right? To discredit all of the people who make conspiracy theories, right? So they're creating a situation where people would naturally come up with conspiracy theories. It's like Biden is dead. It's like this tweet doesn't make sense. The signature doesn't make sense. Where he hasn't been seen for 5 days, maybe he's dead, right? So they're making the situation where people would naturally come up with a conspiracy theory, and then a couple of days later, they prove it false, right? As a way to discredit people who make conspiracy theories, because there's a whole bunch of conspiracy theories about Trump's assassination, right? So that's Brett Weinstein's hypothesis, which is very reasonable, because, well, he's a really smart guy, so he comes up with smart ideas. Continuing. However, the ongoing conspiracy theory, the attempted assassination of Donald Trump. So many things don't add up in this situation. Why was the roof of a building with a clear line to the stage left unguarded? Why did the shooter, whom apparently hated Trump so much that he was willing to die in an attempt to kill him, had no social media footprint whatsoever? I mean, what 20-year-old anywhere has no social media presence? It definitely seems the shooter's social media footprint was found very, very quickly and immediately scrubbed clean. Why would that happen? The shooter was identified as a potential threat up to a full hour before he made his attempt. Why was Trump even allowed on stage when there was a potential threat at the venue? Where am I reading? Right. There's a whole bunch of videos from rally goers screaming at police officers. So there's one very, I guess, famous video. There's a woman, she's yelling, "Officer, officer, there's a man on the roof, there's a man on the roof." So if rally goers could see the shooter from the ground, why couldn't the police or why couldn't the Secret Service see him? And why wasn't Trump immediately pulled off the stage at that point? Reportedly, the shooter failed to get on his school shooting team, and they said that he couldn't hit the broad side of a barn. Yet, after a police officer was kind of lifted up to the roof and kind of looked at him, so a police officer confronted the shooter. The shooter turned his rifle on the police officer. Police officer dropped down, and then the shooter turned back and took the shots at Trump from like 140 meters away. And that shot would have blown off the head of Trump if he hadn't moved his head at the last split second. So that sounds like a well-trained sniper to me to calmly take that shot. I mean, he must have known that he was going to die himself seconds after he shot, and that's exactly what happened, right? It doesn't sound like a 20-year-old noob who couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. So what's going on there? And I'm sure there's a whole bunch more inconsistencies or strange things about this event that I haven't even noticed or I haven't read about. I'm sure I'm missing a lot. And of course, there's the stonewalling and lack of transparency from Secret Service former head Kimberly Cheadle. The bullshit detector is off the charts. So there's so many questions about this. Is it all just incompetence? It's extremely surprising to believe that that is the case. So many mistakes were made. Mistakes can be made, although you don't expect them to be made. We're talking about Secret Service. We're talking about supposedly the most professional security guards in the world. And making mistakes like not securing an obvious building that got a straight line of sight to the stage, right? None of this makes any sense. So, of course, when we have all of these open questions and we're not getting any answers for them. So at the, what she was questioned by the House or the Congress, I forget. She wouldn't answer any of the questions, right? So no transparency, stonewalling. That was the, she resigned, Cheadle, the Secret Service former head. When you add all of that up, it's like, what the hell's going on here, right? Did they allow Trump to be shot, right? Don't know. So the conspiracy theories, I think that as we go on in the future, I don't think we're ever going to know. There's going to be official, of course, there's going to be official explanations for this, but unless it's really, really good, people aren't going to believe it. And it's going to be like, 60 years later with the JFK assassination, people don't believe the official stories, right? It's going to be the same with Trump's assassination attempt. We're not going to believe it, right? Okay, so my last paragraph. For each of these inconsistencies or weird things, is there a reasonable explanation? Maybe, but I don't think we'll ever find out. With the lack of transparency from government and higher than ever distrust for government and media institutions, a lot of people wouldn't believe them even if they told the truth. That boy has been calling wolf for decades. At the end of the 20th century saw the rise of the information age, but many believe that that age is already over, and now we're in the disinformation age. Who knows what's coming next? So, just a quick note, misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation. This is the teacher in me wanting to explain terms. So misinformation, MIS, is just when you make a mistake. So if you tell somebody something and you tell them the wrong thing because you made a mistake, that's misinformation. You told them the wrong thing. There's no intent to do anything wrong there. You just got the information wrong, or you told the wrong information because you didn't know. You made a mistake, you told the wrong information. That's misinformation. Disinformation, that's the bad one, right? So the disinformation, DIS, that's where you're telling information that you know is a lie and you're telling it on purpose for bad reasons, right? You're lying on purpose. You're trying to confuse, you're trying to obfuscate or whatever. That's disinformation. But the most fun of all of these is malinformation, MAL. Mal, of course, from the words, well, M-A-L, mal, which means bad. So words like malicious or malignant, these are bad, right? So mal means bad. So it's bad information. But malinformation, it's not wrong. It's not a lie. It's true information, but it has some bad effect. So if you find out something about the government that's bad for them, and you tell everybody, that's malinformation. You're telling the truth about what happened, but it creates a negative consequence or a bad effect for the person that you're, or the organization that you're telling on, right? So malinformation is actually true, but it hurts somebody through some, like, for example, I think the whole narrative is that, malinformation will erode trust in the organizations or in the government or in the media, as if there's any trust left, right? So that's why malinformation is bad, because you're going to hurt people's trust in the pharmaceutical companies or in the government. Yeah, right. Okay, so that's all I have to say on conspiracy theories. Thank you for watching. I hope you have a good night, and I will see you in a future video. Please like, subscribe, and take care.